All right, welcome into the Auburn Live show. Appreciate everybody for joining us. This is the Monday morning quarterback edition with former Auburn quarterback Ben Leard. Ben, what's up, man? It looks like you're driving. Got somewhere
What's
important
up,
to
Hope?
be.
I am driving to an early morning appointment this morning.
Nice. Everybody go to auburnlive.com, subscribe, 50% off, I believe, is where we're at right now still. So hop on there. A lot of football news, athletic director news. Basketball starts this week. So always a fun time to be a part of the community. All right, Ben. Uh,
Yeah,
this is just getting repetitive. I mean, you thought Arkansas's defense was porous enough that you could hang in there and maybe be a high scoring game. You knew Arkansas was going to score, but until the fourth quarter, I mean, Auburn's offense was very bad and couldn't move the ball and score points on a very bad defense. Um, and some late fourth quarter touchdowns, I think, made the score more respectable. But that game was another blowout by a motivated Arkansas team and an Auburn team that just sort of is out there playing. I don't really see any. They're just kind of playing football, and there's no real in goal in sight to me.
yeah. It's man, it's frustrating to watch. It's disappointing to watch. I mean, I can't. I You can go on and on and on with the words, but in all reality, yeah, you're exactly right. You know, from an offensive standpoint, it's just not there. Um, in my opinion, you need to absolutely wear down Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter. I do think Robbie Ashford is showing vast signs of improvement, but again, that's still not super great from an SEC perspective. The offensive line is still not playing well. Really, the only bright spot of the offensive line, in my opinion, is Jeremiah Wright. He's a kid that I think you can build a top tier SEC offensive line around. He's got some dog in him, and as an old quarterback, I love to see that. Cam Brown is a kid that to me has kind of evolved as the go-to guy. Uh, they should target him more often than they are, but I'll tell you, Hope, that the two areas that are most disappointing to me is the performance of Auburn's defense, and then most importantly, the continuous lack of execution in the third and fourth quarters. You were you were it was a 17-13 game. You're getting the ball to start the second half, and really and truly, that's when Arkansas blew the doors out. I mean, it
Yeah,
just there were it was as if there are zero adjustments, zero corrections, zero coaching, zero was addressed at halftime. And I fully understand. Yeah, Arkansas is making adjustments too, but whatever. You, I, it's just the same old story that nothing's getting done at halftime. Nothing's getting done to put them in a position to win the game in the third and fourth quarter. I can't recall a single game this season. Even Ole Miss, you were making a valiant effort to get it within reach. Even Ole Miss, I think they were down 28-17 at the half, but momentum was tremendously on their side to close that second quarter. There's not a game they have played this year at 3-5 that they haven't been in contention to start the third quarter. And and of the five losses, it's been the errors and the lack of input, the lack of corrections, the lack of execution from a coaching standpoint, most importantly, has been egregious. And
yeah,
it's just, man, it's hard to watch. And I know it is a really, really tough position to be in as a player, and all due respect to even the coaches. I mean, I think everybody knows what's coming. Everybody knows what's going to happen.
They do now.
They absolutely do now. So you are in a difficult position within that building of the coaches. The coaches are auditioning for their next job. So they want to continue to coach, continue to show that they can do the job that they will potentially be hired to do in 2023 at a different school. The players don't want to just roll over on each other. So it's a really sad dynamic. And we were that way in 1998. You can ask the guys that were that way in 2012. It's a tough place to be, man. It's kind of that purgatory situation where it's dead man walking, but you still have a little bit of pride about yourself. But it's such a fragile sense of pride. You are so fragile within your ability to get hyped about a game because the first thing that goes wrong, it's like, oh, well, here we go again. And that's all it takes. You can fight and fight and fight and go toe to toe with whomever, but the first little bit of distance that other team gets from you, it's Katie bar the door. And I think that's where we are as an Auburn football team at this point.
Yeah, I'll applaud. It was a decent crowd, decent amount of a lot of empty seats in the visitor upper deck. But overall, considering where this team is, decent home crowd. But what was lacking was there was no real energy. I mean, they were there. They were there because they want to go to a football game. They enjoy Auburn. They want to support the players. They like tailgating, the experience. But once they got in the stadium, it was very much the energy was not there.
Well, I mean,
fans. I just think it's more of a signal. It's not their fault. I'm not saying anything against them. It's indicative of kind of just how people sort of feel about Auburn's chances of winning a football game right now.
Well, the Auburn fans go to the game. You're exactly right. It's same song, different dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all it is. They're there. They enjoy the moment. They want to show initial support for the kids, and I get. I mean, that's the only reason I went. But unfortunately, you can go into that game with you've got orange and blue glasses on, and you're thinking with the utmost amount of positivity and really really wanting for them to have an opportunity. None of the teams are having the type of seasons that we would have anticipated, and number two, that respective school anticipated as well. You look at Arkansas; they've lost some games that they would have thought they would have won. Mississippi State the same way. You've got Texas A&M, obviously, is in the absolute doldrums and spiraling out of control. So there is a glimmer of hope, but it's that's Homer speak, unfortunately.
Yeah. So for this team, it's they've lost 4 in a row. If they lose at Mississippi State, it'll be the second consecutive season, the only 2 seasons under Ryan Harsin, that Auburn football will have gone through a 5-game losing streak. That's what we're staring at on Saturday is the second straight year of a 5-game losing streak. That doesn't happen in Auburn football. Even the really bad. I mean, it's just 2012. I guess well, you probably have a non-conference game thrown in there that might have broken that up, but it just doesn't happen. Even the bad teams in Auburn football, 5 games in a row. That's the sign of. I mean, that is just bad things. You can lose 2, maybe 3, but Auburn football, when you're talking about losing 5 games in a row, 2 seasons in a row, That's it's
It's
inexcusable.
inexcusable.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to put into words, man. After so many of these games, we look up stats and we're like, oh, when's the last time they did this? The amount of times that we have pointed to 2012 has been astonishing. I mean, it's just, and it's no, I mean, it's been since the beginning of the season. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's, whatever the stat is that goes negative against Auburn. You're like, well, when's the last time they did that? 2012. And which was,
Yep.
at the time, I thought that was the worst football season in the history of Auburn football. I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. 0-8 in the conference, just destroy. You give up 63 to A&M and in Jordan-Hare that year, and shut out against Georgia, shut out against Alabama. I was like, it can't get any worse. And this team is statistically doing some things that team did, and I wonder about. See, now I viewed the Arkansas game as a true tipping point. Like, they had to win that game if they wanted any chance of winning a bowl, going to a bowl game, I thought. And I also thought, after a bye week, playing a home game, if you can't pull that off, now I really worry about, if somebody asks me, hey, how about the locker room? I'm very worried about that now. I think they're going to play hard.
Yeah.
I do think Harson's a decent motivator, but in terms of their ability, and I wrote this at Auburn Live, in terms of, do they believe they're playing for something bigger? Do they believe they're going to win 3 straight games and go to a bowl game? Do they even want to go to a bowl game? I don't think. I think he's lost them there. I think they'll play hard, but in terms of the type of focus and thought process it takes to say, hey, we're playing for something. We're playing for next year. We're playing to get better. We're whatever it might be. I think he's lost them. I think they're going to play hard, but I think they're going through the motions. I think you're running into the risk of them going through the motions to some degree. And then as soon as things start going bad, you're just not going to have that extra drive to go get the job done. If that makes sense. I think that's where you're at now. I think the coaches are probably going to, you really run the risk the next few weeks of just being seriously just going through the motions and playing a football game, and maybe it's close, maybe it's a blowout, but there's not really a lot of extra care there of trying to actually win the game because you're trying to do something big, win a championship or something.
And man, as a coach, I don't even know how you try and motivate the kids. I mean, I'm at a loss of what do you say to those young men at this point that you haven't already tried? I mean, yes, you can try and drill down in on a Derek Hall or a Colby Wooden or a Tang. Say, man, this is still an audition for you. This is still an opportunity for you to make yourself some money. But and that's true. It's very true. And those guys are not going to roll over on their teammates. But what do you do with everybody else? I mean, are you saying to them, hey, we're going to find out what you're made of? Are you willing to support your brother? Give him an opportunity to be successful.
Like I said, I do think Harson's a decent motivator. Like, in the locker room, he can say sometimes the right things to evoke a mentality of hard work. He can say the right things. I mean, listen to what I'm saying. He can go in there, and there's times where Harson can say the things and you're like, okay, I'm with that. Like, let's go work hard. I think the question you run into is, do the players still believe or not? And so will that pitch even work anymore? And it's just, I think it's a really tough sell at this point. What were you saying, Ben? I think you were saying how do you sell the guys now? I mean, how do you sell them on any type of vision other than, do you love football? if you
Yeah,
love
that's it.
football, then go play hard. That's the only thing. You have to put it on them, because really anything past that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's cliche. It's, they're not gonna take it as reality. You're, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's, well, I'm sure it would not be received well from the kids if the coaches all of a sudden start beating their chest and trying to make something different happen. Like, man, where was this a long time ago? But I just, I would, I really do. I have no idea where they go at this point. The young men, number one, win.
So let's see. Auburn's got at Mississippi State. You got Texas A&M at home. I think there's now the big question of, I don't know if Brian Harsin makes it through the season now. I mean, if these kind of losses, the way the timeline's shaking out, Auburn's trying to hire an athletic director right now. That'll probably happen this week, if not, today or tomorrow. And then I think they're going to move real quickly on assess the football program, make a decision. And I'm not sure that this thing's waiting until after the Iron Bowl. I'm just not sure that's going to happen. There's the potential of, we talked about how difficult it would be to make the decision and then send the team into a game the very next week. But you have Western Kentucky. That's, they're not bad, but at least it's not an SEC game. So maybe you make a move after A&M, going into Western Kentucky and do it then, so that you don't do it at the very end of the season. You have like a month before the transfer portal opens, and that just becomes a real rush thing. So it's,
Well, but at the same time, all that depends on the timing of the head coach. Depends on the timing of this AD search or hiring an AD.
yeah,
Um,
it's got to happen this
again,
week.
I just don't know.
Yeah, the AD thing has got to happen this week. It just
Yeah.
it just needs to happen. And then I think we'll see a change made. And man, I'm telling you, Brian Harsin is he's feeling it. He's feeling it. The press conference after that game was it was very much like his Monday press conference after Penn State. It's very combative, very defensive. And I get it. He's frustrated at losing. He's just he's a little too defensive. There were some questions asked that were really fair questions. There was no gotcha questions. And he just kind of immediately snapped back and was combative about it. And, kind of weird reactions, but reactions of somebody that clearly knows that he's on the way out, and he's frustrated about a lot of things, and probably has some deep down, frustration about how he was treated. Although the reporters, most of the reporters in that room were not the people that treated him like that. So, but it was a very telltale sign. I mean, just watching him, took him an hour and 20 minutes to come to the podium after the football game, which is ridiculous. And then to go an hour and 20 minutes and get up there and snap back at reporters is just like, it was kind of a bad look. It was a really bad look for him.
Well, it's here's the deal. Well, I mean, number one, it's disrespectful. Let's just go ahead and call a spade a spade. It's blatantly disrespectful. I mean, unless the dude was laying on a stretcher somewhere, getting an IV or whatever the scenario was. But we all know that wasn't the case. He was slow playing the media, and and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll take responsibility for that. And then to come into the post-game press conference and have the responses that he had. Like, for example, when one of the reporters asked about the defensive performance, and he made the real slick comment of, you're referring to when we weren't here and teams we didn't coach? Well, I would have hated to have seen the results of those teams if you had coached them.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it's tit for tat. You can come back with a comment, and unfortunately, I think it's an unfortunate circumstance a lot of times between interviewers and interviewees that you guys are faced with the difficulty of not appearing unprofessional, because you can get some half-witted, smirky, smart-ass response, and you just got to, as a reporter, you got to bite your tongue, right? You got to, that was not, that was a disrespectful answer and it wasn't what your angle was. Or on the flip side, whoever it is that's getting interviewed is faced with not being able to, the ability to try not and show their tail, right? Be on the up and up and answer the question. But these types of scenarios don't necessarily lend themselves to the most productive outcomes.
No. All right, so they got Mississippi State this weekend. Tough matchup. It's going to be a tough game. Mississippi State obviously can score points, so it's going to be hard to think Auburn can hang in there and score enough points to win this game. Where do you go from here? What's your feeling, I guess? It's almost like another week of, support the players, support the team, hope for the best.
It's more of the same.
Yeah.
Look, Auburn is still Auburn. They're still wearing those uniforms. So, from a player's perspective, folks need to continue to support them. Know that, there's hopefully better and more to come. And you can't just derail your support at this point, because unfortunately, if you derail your support at this point, it will be years of continuous, rebound. And so stay the course, keep the mission in, keep the mission statement going the way it needs to go, and things will turn around. Auburn's going to hire an AD. They're going to, the thought and belief is they're going to have a new coaching staff, and I've got my opinion on who I would prefer that to be, but it is what it is. But Auburn fans and alumni and folks that pull for these young men need to continue doing so. You still love them. You still love Auburn, and win, lose, or draw, you're still, it's still the Auburn family. So going into Starkville as a 12-point dog is kind of unheard of. It's a difficult team. I don't foresee them being able to keep up from a scoring perspective, which again is going to be a disappointing outcome. And then you have a tremendously talented Texas A&M team coming to Auburn, and that is, unfortunately, their record doesn't necessarily indicate their talent level. So you can kind of have an understanding of what to predict there, but you just never know. So I don't know, man. I do not know what to expect other than expect more L's, and that's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah. Well, obviously if they understand that they're probably not going to win at Alabama these next 3 games is their only shot. The next time they lose, you can scratch off a bowl game, which doesn't mean a whole lot for the players. It'd be nice. But then, look, I don't even know how much they want to be there. So it's just the sad state of the season. All right, man. Well, it looks like you're there. You got important things to do. We'll come back next week. We'll talk about an AD hire, talk about a game at Mississippi State. We'll see how things are going there. Maybe a little basketball.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right. Appreciate everybody joining us. AuburnLive.com. Go subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. For Ben and myself, we'll see you next time.